this over the last 10 years in Nigeria. Now, terrorism is taking a new toll. It's taking a toll in every region of Nigeria. They say it's IPOB, some say is the security outfit in the east. And everybody is blaming each other. The government needs to sit down, work out properly the security structures in this country, and let Nigerians feel safe in their homes, in going out and coming back, in everything that they do. It's just a sad way to start the day on Tuesday.
Orji, do you have a thought to share on that? Because really, this, like as Wadi has just rightly put it, it exposes the lapse in the security structure, not just in that state, but across the country. Orji, do you have a thought to share? No? Okay, let's move on.
I can barely hear you, Val.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
You can, it's slightly better. Yeah.
So I was asking for your own thoughts regarding that, because like what he said, it not only exposes the lapse in the security structure of the states itself, but the entire country.
Of course, it does. The story is it's a bit depressing, and for the avoidance of doubt, but particularly those of us from the southeast who live outside of the southeast, in Lagos and other places, have been asked to lend our voices to let the people know that violence is never the best answer. It is not going to work. The approach they're taking would not end well. It's, like I said on Twitter, it's an ill wind that doesn't blow anyone any good. Having said that, we must also acknowledge that how the government reacts to this is also key. A number of people have been writing before now, so to an extent, it's not surprising what's going on, because you can see the manner the government has handled pockets of violence in the past would have led to where we are. And it's also critical for the government to be circumspect in their reaction. If, for example, you send in troops, you occupy the place, you're only going to make them dig into trenches and do more. So the government has to be careful. I'm not saying condone violence. I have said clearly, for the avoidance of doubt, violence is not the answer, and those perpetrating violence should be brought. That said, we know how government has historically responded to things like this. They should be careful not to, in going after the terrorists, as they call them, they also go after innocent citizens or civilians, because that will only do nothing other than to make others around, as opposed to them helping the government in finding perpetrators, will only make them take sides with those who are responsible for this violence. So how government reacts for me is more important than the unfortunate incident of Monday morning.
Thank you for that, gentlemen. I have comments here on WhatsApp. Shanu from Ilupedru says, may God save us in this country when planes are going missing and prisoners being set free. Patrick says, our priests used to crack our ribs anytime he says, no be to go markets, go buy rice, nine matter, but you get the ingredients to cook them delicious. That's all I have to say for the government. Just imagine level of insecurity, discontent, and ethnic hatred in the country. Even during the Civil War, Nigeria was safer. Patrick, you're another. I don't think you were born at the time, so it's hard for you to actually make that connection or allusion. Tara from Aja says, so no arrest or confession, but they know it's IPOB or ESN, but the police were engaged in a lengthy gun battle on their turf with this kind of results. Interesting. Choma says, thank you for that message. Samuel from Lekki says, good morning all. How come the IGP can, within 24 hours, tell us IPOB or ESN carried out the Imo attacks, but is not able to unravel the killers of the 25 in Enugu and Ebonyi or in other states? The president has suddenly found the terrorism word now, but has not said so since the killings in the north began. Dan says it has become very clear that the entire Nigeria security architecture has finally collapsed. Barrister Dan Okwada from Igondo, thank you for that. Joseph Meye from Ejigbo in Lagos says, hi, Valentine and analysts. As much as I'm saddened with the lowest level of security in the country, but I'm in shock as the presidency and IGP are quick to name a particular group terrorists, but herdsmen, Boko Haram and bandits are never mentioned as terrorists. Is there sincerity from the governors and the federal government? Chris says, curious how the prison and Imo police headquarters, both located near the government house with all the heavy security, and was attacked for 3 whole hours. Attackers sang songs before the attack. So many vehicles and property were carefully burnt without human casualties on either side. So that raises a big question. Like, if it seems like those people had the audacity to carry out that attack, and for that long, a time, and nobody intervened. There was no intervention from security operatives, as if it was a free playing ground for them. So that raised a lot of questions. But the next story sparks interest in a positive light. The Vanguard reports in its headline, Orji, that the federal government has activated 240 billion naira ADP, that's Africa Development Bank facility, for tech creative sectors. They give the reason behind this as to shore up or to support the creative industry to close the gaps that exist in the technology and creative industries in the country. How do you suppose this is going to be carried out, and when does it start, Orji? Hello, Orji. Orji, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was muted. So I have read this story twice, and I honestly don't understand. And unfortunately, I don't have the answer to your question. I've gone round. So the story, unfortunately, it goes round and round. It mentions figures, right? Now, the AFDB is going to give Nigeria a loan, because let us be critical in the analysis. It is a loan, 500 million naira fund, which has been named Nigeria Innovation Program. So a proposal was presented by the AFDB, that's the Africa Development Bank, to the Vice President a few days ago. This was reported by the Senior Special Assistant to the Presidency, to the Vice President on Media and Publicity, Mr. Laolu Akonde. So in the past, he says the Vice President has spoken about the 500 million facilities. It is aimed towards the tech industry. It is aimed towards helping our creatives. It also says a few years ago, a technology and creativity working group was set up with members from the private and public sector, chaired by the Vice President. Just goes on and on to say what it aims to achieve. He then says that there are some focus states, including Abuja, Lagos, Osun, Edo, Cross River, Anambra, Kaduna, Adamawa, and Plateau, who were initially selected as focus states, while the presidency has added Borno, Gombe, and Kwara states. Then PwC has also, I'm sorry, it just goes on and on. So they focus on 4 development pillars: human capital, financing, infrastructure, and enabling environment. They also aim to create 285,000 jobs in the technology and creative industry in the next 5 years. So that's what I got from the story. At the end of the day, I don't know what the money is for. At least the story does not answer that question. We know the area of focus, the states involved. We also know the area of the economy, which I mentioned, the tech industry, creatives, and all. The specific question of what the money will be used for, when this will be activated, which are the 2 questions you asked me, I unfortunately cannot answer. But it's a good thing. We know that the $500 million of somewhere coming, even though it will also add to what we need to pay back in years to come. But we know that money is coming. So those in the tech industry should be expectant. How they will benefit from it, I do not know. Last week, I accused the government of trying to seek where they did not so, in terms of the taxation against the tech industry and all of that. So maybe this is government's response to me, saying, yeah, this we want to now reap. So when we'll be hearing about the positives that taking place in the tech industry in the country, so I see this as government's attempt to say, look, we are part of this. So when it continues to use the result as already, government will take part of the credits. That's all I can say about the story.
You're just breaking the legs of the table. At least leave something for us to put our papers on. Because I do not fault your answer in any way. I'm not even questioning it, because that's actually an answer to my question. I was going to ask, because based on that comment you referred to from the past week, saying government does not reap where they don't sow, they are sowing now. So if the taxes come, don't be surprised. Also recall that some of these companies, tech companies that have been announcing some funds raised, have been citing their operations in the US away from Nigeria, and it's raised a lot of questions about ease of doing business here. So, I mean, with this somewhat knee-jerk reaction to these recent announcements, don't you think it's a laudable effort? I mean, they'll probably just make the announcement first and then unroll the plan, so we can see how, these other tech companies or startups can be encouraged to get some access to fund to grow to the level of the flutter waves or the pay stacks and all. But what do you wanted to add something quickly?
Yeah, Orji said this last week about the taxation and all, and a week after we're having this news. The funny part of this story is, like Orji said, what exactly is the 240 billion going to be for? Are you going to increase the infrastructure development in the system, or are you going to what's it called? Are you going to put in place policies that will help drive the tech people to be able to access this money easily so that they can build on these things? And all these things have not been said. Rather, you are telling us the states that are going to benefit from them. So it's amazing the way government, like you said, the knee-jerk reactions are just completely out of this world.
But you remember the CBN creative loan, the creative facility that was issued 2 years ago. So this might be similar to that, because when I saw it, that's the first thing my mind went to. Let's move on quickly to the next couple of stories. Now, Guardian reports that a strike looms in Kano as the government has returned to the old minimum wage. They gave their reasons as that because they said the reason before relying on the old salary structure is because the government cannot afford it, because the money accrued or the money they got from the government's allocation is not enough for them to foot those bills. I mean, how does this pan out for us, Uade? How does this make you feel, seeing that we seem to have, no, we haven't gone past the minimum wage conversation, right? But for a state to say this easily and openly admits to still be relying on government allocation to pay bills, when we know that states should be self-reliant, and in the midst of us clamoring for regional formations or whatever, however you want to put it. But your thoughts, I'll be interested to hear what you have to say about this.
Okay, so Valentine, this is disgraceful. Let me start by saying that, because I don't understand how a state like Kano, with the population and the number of businesses that are in Kano, that they cannot internally generate enough funds towards funding the civil service in Kano. That's the first part of it. What kind of internally generated resources are you bringing in place if everybody in Nigeria has to wait for the federal government to share the booty? And like we know, over the last 5 years, the booty has continually gone down. So this excuse is just, it's disgraceful, it's annoying. So people will work, and then you start blaming civil servants that they don't come to work or they're cutting corners. These are the kind of things that bring about this kind of situations with members of the civil service. And we all go out and blame them and say they have families to feed. You've agreed on the minimum wage. We spoke on the minimum wage for God knows how long before the state started implementing them. So states like Kano, as large as you are with the population and the working class population that you have, you are not able to generate enough funds to, for me, federal government money should be put into infrastructure and not paying salaries. If states are waiting for federal government to give them funds to pay salaries, then it's a huge disgrace to the level of governance or the level of leadership that we have everywhere in Nigeria. It's so sad. It's disgraceful, please. Really.
What a disgrace or no disgrace, as embarrassing as it is, does the state have the legal right to assume this position and go with it?
Well, I don't know about them having the legal right, but they have a right to ask the people that they can cut their salaries. It's like a business. So if the monies are not coming in, you can have the salaries, you can cut them in any manner, which is the appeal by the state. But is it right for you to do that when you spend so much money on other things that in quotes may not be as necessary as those for you to pay the salaries of those who create the policies for the state, who manage and implement those policies and ensure that these things are being done? So they are essential workers, and we need to just consider that and ensure that they are happy. Otherwise, we will have a system whereby.
I lost you, Wade, for a second there.
Yeah, I said nothing works. So if nothing works, then the state on its own is not going to even progress or develop in the manner and the rate at which they are meant to develop.
Thank you for that take. Abayomi Akarakuri sends the message here on WhatsApp. He says, hello Val, by law, nameless groups cannot be proscribed, unfortunately. Bandits, herders do not have a name. IPOP ESN, Boko Haram do. Thank you, Abayemi, for that message. Samuel from Lekki says, I hope there will be a transparent disbursement of this $500 million loan, better than the way the palliatives were shared, or should I say squandered. Make I know here say a headsman that uses Excel to keep stock is in the tech industry. Another message here on Instagram Live on Smooth981 from Zito Oliver. He says, truth is, in response to your comments, the government lacks the ability to see themselves as entities that should generate income, especially on the state level. At the state level, this situation is sad. States should pay, which is why I raised my eyebrow when they used business and states in the same sentence. Let's go to The Guardian for the next story. The Guardian reports in its headline, Orji, that 5 of 39 students, FACA students, have regained freedom, which is great news. Recall that 39 students were kidnapped from the Federal College of Forestry Mechanization in Afaka. This story hit yesterday, and the Christian Association in that Kaduna state reacted and blamed the travels of the kidnapped students to the position of the governor, Nasir El-Rufai, which it described as unhelpful. Remember that yesterday, we were talking about the government's position, reiterating that he does not support ransom payments. What are your thoughts on this, Orji?
Yeah, so the first line of this story is instructive. It says Kaduna State government has been informed that 5 of the kidnapped students have regained freedom. You see, this is a sharp contrast from what we saw in other states. For example, in Katsina, we know that there were states where, particularly in Katsina state, when the president in fact was in the state, when some boys were kidnapped, the state government was directly involved in rescue effort. Now, in this case, we hear from the state government that they have been informed. That's what the story says, like line 1. So there's no mistake about it. What it means is that the state government was not involved. Now, I do not wish to join issue with the state government who say they don't want to pay ransom to bandits, to kidnappers, and or who they don't want to negotiate with them. To be honest, it is not a bad position to take. But in this case, there are questions about government sincerity, particularly because this same government, this same state government, this same governor has in the past been seen to have negotiated with bandits. So the Christian Association of Nigeria is now blaming the government, and you would say they have reasons to do so because the government has in the past, and like I said, they have done this. But so what they are saying is question of hypocrisy and double standards. It's a good thing 5 of them have been rescued. 26 others should also, whoever did what the person did, because it's not saying whether ransom was paid or not. Whoever did what the person did and got 6 of them out should please, and got 5 of them out should please also do what the best the person can do to ensure they are out. But the government must also know, as we say, the governor is, whether that's right or wrong, the governor is the chief security officer of that state. The state government has the responsibility of the security and well-being of the people. Those school children were kidnapped or were abducted right in that state. They have a duty, they have a responsibility. Whether they will say they don't want to pay a ransom, they don't want to negotiate, whatever it is they want to do, we don't care. The key thing is at the end of the day, the government should not show nonchalance towards a people for any reason. You must treat like all your citizens alike. Let me not say more than that so that I don't say what I want to say. The government just needs to sit up and do more.
Thank you for that, Orji. Quick look at this next story, Uade. FCTA workers threaten strike, demand removal of permanent secretary. They are citing instances, especially the Executive Order 1 that was signed in 2004, that makes provisions for the establishment of that office, especially who takes the seat, and other demands contained in their documents that they put forward to the government. And they threatened that they would paralyze government activities if their demands are not met. And this includes the Joint Unions Action Committee, the Federal Capital Territory Administration, that's FCTA, and the Federal Capital Development Authority, FCDA. What are your thoughts on this, Uade?
Valentine, I think let Orji take this story. I'll take the next one.
Let me just jump in. Let me just jump in briefly. This is a case of another strike threat. We have the Jusun already threatened to go on strike. I don't know if they finally did. I'll find out soon. But this is a case of another strike. Now, in this case, what has happened is that the Joint Union Action Committees in the FCTA that's Federal Capital Territory Administration, and the Federal Capital Development Authority. They say they're going to go on indefinite strike if the current permanent secretary is not removed. Their reason is that there is an act of National Assembly, FCT Civil Service Commission Act, that has now abolished what they used to do before, which was an executive order, which allowed for FCT workers to be able to qualify to the rank of permanent secretary. But so far, for the past number of years now, that has not been the case. But my problem is the fact that at the end of the day, the best way work for workers always to press on their demands to threat, because in this case, they listed those demands and they say that they will paralyze government activities if their demands are not met. Guess what? Their other demand is, apart from the removal of all FCTS staff, which are threatened from Accountant General's office, they also want to remove them FCTS staff from IPs. Remember, we had that with us. My point is that I know government is to violence, but workers should also find other ways to press on demands. Threats of strike should not always be the way out. For time, let me not say more than that.
Thank you so much for that. Uade, there's a look at another interesting story that exposes some suspicious activities surrounding COVID testing in the state, Lagos, which makes it very uncomfortable for us to treat, but the truth has to be exposed, right? Premium Times has this investigative journalistic report that they put up today, citing an instance where one of their reporters disguised himself, exposed himself first to cold, extreme conditions of cold, caught flu symptoms, and then went to a government laboratory to verify, because there were allegations that the government laboratories were conniving with private establishments to lure people who, albeit, would have gotten these services for free, the tests for free, to this private center so that they can be charged. Also highlighting some of the allegations surrounding the way these funds are disbursed or shared in the back room. So this expose now has revealed in the details that the government establishments that are supposed to give this test for free are involved in this racket. What are your thoughts on this in this report?
First, there's one of the government agencies that has not been implicated in this, and I want to commend them for that. If the policy of the government is to give free testing, then the members of the government or the people who work in those facilities must abide by them. But it has become the norm in Nigeria now, where everything is being directed towards the private sector from public sector activities, and it's sad. Reading this story just goes to show you the level of I'm trying to find the right word, but the level of decay in the civil service system, because nobody thinks about, like we continually said here, about primary health care. Nobody thinks about community healthcare and welfare. And this story just goes to expose this the more. And it's sad, because at the end, one of the spokesmen for the government says, I imagine it may be a constraint, especially running free tests for travelers who can afford the test. Set the rules. If you don't want those who are traveling to get free tests, then set those rules and nobody will do it. That way it is clear and for everyone to know who is entitled to get a free test in Lagos. Not you say one thing and then you say, oh, this is an excuse for you. Why? That's why maybe you need to start charging money. Set the rules, set the regulations clearly, and everybody should abide with them. And when they are not abiding by those rules and regulations, then you implement the sanctions. And this is for me, this is a clear-cut case of I don't know, of Nigerians being put on the edge again during a pandemic. You walk into a place where you think you should be able to get a test, and just you can imagine how many people have been turned back and turned out to be COVID positive. It's sad, Valentine. It's sad. Today's news has just been a day of sadness and disgrace to the public system in Nigeria.
On the contrary, I'll say, on the contrary, Orji, quickly, sorry, Uade, I would add that it's not necessarily sad for me, because I'm happy to see things exposed. I'm happy to see people saying the truth. I'm happy, that we get to admit these things, that, like you said, you're right, set the rules or put the policies in place or put a set of guidelines in place that are clear, crystal clear, instead of hiding them in ambiguous words or guidelines that people, the ordinary man, would not understand. So when you go to a center like that for tests, you're tested immediately and not asked several questions. Oh, are you sure you came for test? Or how do you know you have the symptoms? That's why I came for a test in the first place, to find out, right? Because I can't diagnose myself. And so these are the things that we should speak about. So that's why I said it's a good story. I'm happy that we see things like this, so we can ask necessary questions.
Valentine, I totally agree with you. I'm happy with that too. But it's the system that I say it's sad the way it works, because rather than set out, like you said, rather than set out the guidelines so everybody can see in black and white, the fine print nobody ever reads, and that's what happens here.
Yeah, thank you so much. On the purpose of knowledge, I like that you ask these questions. I like that we make this, give these answers and, give some insights. So that's why I'm very grateful to you, Orji. Orji Oka on social media, Uade at Re-Ink Nigeria. Please continue the conversation with them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram with the hashtag FreshlyPressed981. And to everyone who tuned in on Instagram Live on Smooth981, Valentine Ohu, youtube.com/Smooth981FM Lagos. On Twitter, I see all your messages as well as WhatsApp. Take care and have